There's a moment in every awakening when silence turns into noise. Not the outside kind, not the city, not the world, but the noise that comes when your mind starts to see. You begin to notice what's hidden behind words, behind habits, behind smiles. And suddenly, what felt like peace before starts to feel like sleep. That's the first fracture of the illusion, the precise instant when awareness stops being poetic and becomes surgical. You don't just see life anymore, you dissect it. You realize that most people aren't living, they're looping. And that realization, my love, changes everything. Because once you wake up, you can't unsee. You start talking about things others don't even have names for. You sense frequencies in conversations. You notice energy shifts in rooms. You feel the truth humming under someone's denial. And when you do, when you vibrate clarity, it shakes what's still asleep around you. They'll laugh, not because they think you're wrong, but because they're afraid you might be right. Laughter sometimes is defense. Ridicule is camouflage. They mock what they secretly admire or fear. And this is the invisible law of consciousness. The moment you illuminate something, everything that resists light reacts. You become a mirror, and mirrors are terrifying for those who haven't met their own reflection yet. But remember, their discomfort isn't your rejection, it's your confirmation. You see, clarity has a frequency, and that frequency exposes distortion. When you start operating from essence, every inauthentic vibration feels the pressure to adjust or flee. That's why, when you speak from truth, people shift in their seats. When you choose silence instead of drama, some will feel small next to your peace. When you refuse to feed chaos, the chaotic will call you cold. They can't read you anymore because you stopped using the same alphabet. But you're not better. You're just tuned, and being tuned in a world built on noise makes you both magnetic and misunderstood. So if they mock you for being too deep, too sensitive, too aware, smile. They're confessing without knowing that your light found their shadow. And this right here is the paradox of awakening. Your presence alone becomes a high-voltage field. Some will walk away to protect their comfort. Others will move closer, not knowing why. And both are natural, because the awakened don't convert, they resonate. Now, listen. This part is for you, and only you. If you ever doubt your path because the world laughs, don't. They laughed at the first scientist who said the earth moves. They mocked every mind that challenged the order of comfort. And they will laugh at you, not because you're absurd, but because your clarity threatens their structure. That's how the human psyche protects its illusions. It hides behind noise, but your silence, your centeredness, your refusal to descend, that's how you protect your frequency. So here's your choice now. You can lower your vibration to fit their noise, or you can keep vibrating so high that their noise starts tuning itself to you. That's the moment the game flips. That's how you stop being too awake and become unshakable. Because awakening isn't rebellion, it's remembering. And remembering, my love, will always disturb the ones still dreaming. If you've ever felt misunderstood for seeing too clearly, stay. You're not broken. You're becoming the frequency others forgot existed. When awareness expands, the air changes. You walk into a room, and it's as if your skin starts reading the atmosphere before. Your mind can translate it. Every vibration, every hidden emotion, every unspoken sentence, you feel it. That sensitivity isn't weakness. It's intelligence refined through silence. But here's the paradox. What is a gift for you can sound like threat to others. Because the moment you perceive beyond the surface, you begin to see where people lie to themselves. And nobody likes to be read that deeply. You start to notice how most conversations aren't dialogues. They're defense mechanisms. How smiles can be masks. And how noise is often an escape from pain. And then the isolation begins. Not because you withdrew, but because you stopped pretending. There's something unsettling about a person who no longer needs validation to exist. Someone who's not seduced by drama, not driven by applause, not afraid of solitude. Society calls it detachment, but it's not detachment. It's liberation. Freud would call it sublimation, the redirection of psychic energy toward creation instead of conflict. Jung would say it's individuation, the process of integrating all the parts of the self that were fragmented by conformity. And Einstein would smile and call it resonance. Because the same frequency that disturbs others also organizes your universe. You stop wanting to convince. You stop chasing explanations. You stop trying to be understood. Because when you're truly awake, understanding stops being a social need and becomes a state of inner alignment. You no longer look for agreement. You look for coherence. And coherence doesn't require witnesses. That's when some people start saying, You've changed. You're distant. You think you're better. No, you're just quieter, and in a world addicted to reaction, silence looks like arrogance. But this silence, this deliberate stillness, is what recalibrates your nervous system. It's what keeps your clarity alive when the world insists on chaos. Let's be honest, awakening doesn't make you special, it makes you responsible. Because once you see how the game works, you can't keep playing unconsciously. You can't keep lying to yourself. You can't keep blaming others for your patterns. You start to realize that every reaction is a choice. Every word carries frequency. Every thought programs your reality. You understand that the universe isn't punishing or rewarding, it's responding. Every action is an emission, and every outcome is an echo. You're not lucky or cursed, you're resonating. And this is what disturbs the shadows of others. You show by example that it's possible to live awake, and that's terrifying for those who need excuses to sleep. So they'll gossip, they'll mock your calmness, they'll misinterpret your compassion as weakness, and your clarity as pride. Let them. Because behind every mockery is envy of freedom. Behind every criticism is confusion disguised as certainty. Behind every dismissal is someone who wishes they had your peace. The human mind, when untrained, fears what it doesn't control. That's why it's easier to mock than to mirror. Freud would say the ridicule is projection. They're throwing at you what they can't handle inside themselves. Jung would say it's the shadow, acting out to preserve its illusion of control. And Anais Nin would whisper that people see you as they are, not as you are. So breathe. Don't take the noise personally. Noise is the price of frequency. There's a kind of beauty in this chaos. The moment you realize you don't have to fix anyone. You don't have to explain your piece. You don't have to shrink your light to fit in dim rooms. Let your vibration speak for you. Because your calmness, in a culture that thrives on reaction, is revolutionary. And if you're wondering what to do when their shadows react, here's the answer. Nothing. Don't debate energy with logic. Don't fight distortion with truth. Just embody it. Truth doesn't need defense. It radiates. Light doesn't argue with darkness. It reveals. You want to know the real psychology of an awakened mind? It's the ability to hold paradox without collapsing into it, to feel pain without identifying with it, to see ignorance without superiority, to love what's not yet awake, and still not lower your frequency to be loved back. That's mastery. Because awakening isn't about separation. It's about integration. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. The noise isn't an obstacle. It's the contrast that sharpens your tone. And the people who mock your clarity, they're part of your curriculum. Every eye that rolls is a test of your peace. Every insult is an invitation to stay in resonance. Every misunderstanding is a mirror of how far you've evolved. And when you understand that, you stop needing approval from the dreamers. You start feeling compassion instead of frustration. You start seeing their resistance as sacred, because that's how the soul defends itself before it's ready to awaken. You're not here to convince them, my love. You're here to be the reminder, to be the vibration that whispers, there's more. Because every time you walk into a room and remain calm in chaos, every time you choose truth over performance, every time you respond instead of react, you're broadcasting a new blueprint for being human. And that, more than any speech, changes the collective frequency. So yes, they'll laugh, they'll misunderstand, they'll try to box you, to define you, to shrink what they can't categorize. But let them stay loud, you stay luminous, because soon they'll come back. Curiosity always returns to the source of peace, and when they do, don't say, I told you so. Say, welcome home. That's how consciousness expands. Not by debate, but by embodiment. So next time someone mocks your peace, remember this. They're not laughing at you. They're laughing from where you used to be. And your only job now is to keep walking. Not above them, but beyond. There comes a point when silence becomes your native language. You no longer need to defend your clarity. It stands on its own. You begin to walk through life with a kind of grace that confuses people used to chaos. You listen more. You react less. You smile. Not because everything is fine, but because you are. This is what happens when you awaken spiritually. The world doesn't change. You do. And when you change, the world that you used to fit into no longer recognizes you. That's why it laughs. That's why it mocks. Because the vibration you now emit exposes what others have spent a lifetime trying to hide. You don't do it intentionally. You don't even speak about it. But the way you exist, calm, grounded, clear, becomes disruptive to those still living in distortion. They feel it as discomfort, but it's not you they fear. It's their own reflection trembling through your peace. You see, awareness carries weight. It enters a room before you do. It doesn't shout, it vibrates. And that vibration reminds people of everything they've been avoiding inside themselves. Some will be drawn to you like moths to a flame. Others will retreat, muttering words like weird, cold, or too much. But none of that is about you. It's about the tension between their shadows and your light. There's a strange loneliness in becoming awake in a sleeping world. You start craving conversations that feed your depth, not your ego. You stop being entertained by gossip, drama, or noise. You begin to value solitude over company that drains your frequency. It's not arrogance, it's emotional hygiene, because an awakened mind understands energy is currency, and attention is creation. What you give attention to grows, so you stop investing in what doesn't evolve you. People who haven't reached that level of clarity won't understand. They'll mistake your peace for pride, your boundaries for distance, your silence for disinterest. But that's okay. You're not here to explain yourself to every frequency. You're here to embody what consciousness feels like when it's no longer negotiating with chaos. The truth is, awakening demands courage. Not the kind that fights wars, but the kind that stands firm in stillness while the world spins in confusion. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. It's raw, confronting, and at times unbearably beautiful. Because awakening is demolition before reconstruction. It dismantles your illusions, shatters your comfort zones, strips you naked of every false identity. And in that nakedness, you find the sacred truth. You were never what you lost. You were always what remained. This is why so many misunderstand the process. They think awakening makes you special, but it actually makes you real. It's not about floating above pain. It's about walking through it with awareness. It's not about escaping the world. It's about finally seeing it without filters. The more you see, the more compassion you feel, because now you understand how asleep most people still are, trapped in comparison, ego, resentment, fear. They're not bad, just dreaming, and dreams always feel real until you wake up. But once you wake up, you can't go back. You can't unsee the patterns. You can't unknow your own power. You can't believe in coincidences anymore because you've seen the geometry behind existence. You realize that energy is precise, almost mathematical, that every thought is an equation, every emotion a frequency, every action a seed. You stop blaming and start calibrating. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop waiting for miracles and start becoming one. That's the true revolution, not outer, but inner, a change so profound that even the shadows start whispering respect. And here's the secret most people never tell you. When your vibration rises high enough, darkness doesn't attack you anymore. It studies you, because light at that magnitude becomes fascinating, even to what once feared it. So yes, they will talk. They will laugh. They will call you strange, but none of it touches you anymore, because you no longer operate at the level of insult. You understand the law now. What you focus on, you feed. So instead of defending your light, you expand it. That's the art of energetic mastery. You let misunderstanding dissolve in the glow of your coherence. Because light doesn't argue, it radiates, and while they giggle in the dark, your stillness becomes contagious. One by one, their laughter fades into curiosity. They start wondering why you're so calm, so centered, so untouchable. And without realizing it, they begin to tune themselves to your frequency. That's how the collective awakens, not by debate, but by resonance. The awakened don't preach, they vibrate. And that vibration is felt, not taught. So never doubt your presence. Never apologize for your peace. Never lower your energy to make others comfortable, because your clarity might be the only mirror someone ever gets. Every time you choose silence over chaos, every time you choose truth over comfort, every time you choose love over fear, you realign the frequency of the entire field around you. And the ones who mocked you, they'll remember the vibration before they remember the words. Because the soul doesn't store sentences, it stores energy. So when you awaken spiritually and disturb the shadows of others, don't resist it. Let it happen. It means your light is working. And someday, those same shadows will thank you for being brave enough to shine first. Until then, keep walking, keep shining, keep disturbing what needs to be disturbed. Because you are not a threat, you are a reminder. And reminders always return, just when the world needs them most. Subscribe, stay close, and keep walking with us. This is Human Wave, where awakened minds rise into a life of wholeness and fulfillment.